Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 7 of Bad Girls by Jacqueline Wilson, continuing from page 154, Rainbow. I couldn't believe Tanya was gone. I kept thinking of things I had to tell her, and then remembering. Every time I heard footsteps out in the street, I leapt to the window, even though I knew it couldn't possibly be her. I couldn't settle to anything at all. I couldn't even play Miranda Rainbow. I was stuck being me, Mandy White, and I couldn't stand it. Mum and Dad tried hard to distract me. Mum even bought me a big new tin of rainbow felt tips without a murmur. It was very sweet of you to give Tanya your other set, she said. You didn't even want me to say goodbye to her, I said. I was still in a state of shock after having to collect you from the police, said Mum. You never liked Tanya, though. You didn't ever want me to see her, I said fiercely. You're being a bit hard on your mum, said Dad. We only said you couldn't see her after the shoplifting business, and it's silly to say we didn't like her. She was a smashing girl in many ways, so lively and basically good-hearted. She is. Don't talk about her as if she's dead, I said. She's still my best ever friend, you know, even though she's gone. And Mum didn't ever want us to be friends, did you? Now, said Mum. All right. I didn't think it was very sensible, and I was proved right too. But there's no need to look at me like that, Mandy. I didn't have anything against Tanya personally. It's just that she wasn't the right age for you, and she didn't come from the right sort of background. Melanie is the right age, the right background. You thought she was the right sort of friend for me, and she was ever so mean to me and ganged up with Kim and Sarah against me. They were hateful. Tanya was always lovely to me. I didn't just say it. I shouted it. I thought they'd get cross then, but they just stared at each other, looking helpless. That's a good point, Mandy, said Dad, sighing. It's not as simple as that, said Mum, but I wish I'd tried a bit harder with Tanya. It's easy to say that now, when she's been taken away, I said. I stamped off to my room and slammed the door. I lay on my bed for a while, clutching Olivia Orangutan, pretending her orange fur was Tanya's hair. Then I sat up and dressed her in Tanya's violet sequin top. It fell way past her paws, an amazing evening gown. I tried on the top myself. I took off my glasses and peered short-sightedly into the mirror. I could just see a swirl of purple sequins. I could kid myself I looked amazingly glamorous, a real Miranda Rainbow. But then I put my glasses back on and everything shifted into focus. I was Mandy White again, and I went in and out of all the wrong places. The violet top puckered loosely over my flat chest and showed off my babyish round tummy. Mandy, it was Mum, knocking at my bedroom door. I tried to rip the top off quickly because I couldn't stand the thought of Mum laughing at me. My head got caught, and when I pulled, my glasses went flying. They fell with a clatter on my chest of drawers and broke in two again. Oh, no! What's the matter, Mandy, said Mum, coming in. My glasses, they've broken again. Well, we'll see if Daddy can fix them with superglue, like he did last time. But I think we'll have to get you a new pair sometime this summer, said Mum. Really grown-up fashionable glasses, I asked. Yes, so long as they're not too expensive. And can I have my hair cut, so that they won't look stupid with my baby plaits? I'm not so sure about that, said Mum. If it's really important to you, then maybe you can. I suppose it's your own hair after all. Mum paused. But I tell you one thing I am sure about, Mandy. I don't want you wearing that purple sequin top. Certainly not outdoors. It doesn't fit right anyway, I said, but it looked lovely on Tanya. Well, said Mum, I miss her so. I said, she'd said she'd write, but she hates writing, so I don't think she will. I know you're missing her, darling, and I understand, but believe me, you'll make some other friends soon. Tell you what, why don't you get in touch with that nice boy who rang you up after the accident? Arthur. No, I couldn't. I'd feel stupid. I'll get in touch with his mother if you like. No, Mum, I don't want to. I don't want to do anything, I insisted. Dad took time off work and kept suggesting we go to the pictures or the park. He spent one day taking me around the museums in London, and I pretended I was enjoying myself, but I'd have been just as happy lying on my bed at home doing nothing. Mum scoured the local newspaper for holiday activities and eventually talked me into signing up for a story writing session at the library. She took me shopping on Saturday and said I could have new glasses. I tried on hundreds of pairs, tiny owly ones, great big bold specs, glittery party glasses. I wish Tanya was there to tell me which suited me most. Mum liked a baby pink pair with a little white rabbit at either end. I knew I never wanted to wear anything with a rabbit on it ever again, particularly in pink. But pink suits you so, Mandy, said Mum. Not pink, Mum. Any other colour. Red, orange, purple. I peered through glasses, all the colours of rainbow, and then I spotted a perfect pair. Not too little, not too large, with striped frames, rainbow stripes, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. Oh, Mum, I like these best. Can I have the rainbow glasses? They weren't too expensive, so Mum said yes. We went and had an ice cream in Maxwell's while we were waiting for my glasses to be made up with the right lenses for me. I chose a strawberry special, sprinkled with rainbow dots. Mum had one too, even though she was supposed to be on another diet. I wish I'd taken Tanya here now, said Mum. We finished our strawberry specials in silence. Mum decided to chance going into work late the next Monday so she could deliver me at the library for the writing session. She wanted to come in with me, but I wouldn't let her, in case any of the children thought me a baby. I needn't have worried. There was only one other person my age, Arthur. He was already sitting at a table at the back of the room with two other boys. There wasn't a spare chair at the table, and I don't want him to think I was being pushy. He didn't seem all that thrilled to see me there. He just nodded nervously at me, going pink. I didn't want to embarrass him further in front of the other boys. They were maybe his friends. I didn't know who to sit with. I didn't want to squash up with the very little ones, printing in wobbly wax crayon. There were two girls about 7 at another table. Maybe you'd like to sit with Sarah and Julie and work on their woodland bunny story with them, said the library lady. No, thank you, I said. I don't really want to write about rabbits. I'll make up my own story. I sat at a little table by myself. The library lady offered me paper and pencils and wax crayons, but I had my own drawing book and my new tin of rainbow felt tips with me. Arthur was looking at me, so I hurriedly started writing. I didn't want him to think I was trying to catch his eye. I wrote down the special story Tanya and I had made up together, about love, Tanyanita, and Miranda, Rainbow, sharing a flat together. It made me feel very lonely and sad remembering it. I kept hearing Tanya's voice as she made it all up. Are you all right, Mandy? The library lady asked, bending over me. Yes, I'm fine, I said, feeling stupid. I put my arm over my page. I didn't want her to read our private story. She moved on to the boys' table at the back. The boys, who weren't Arthur, were scribbling stories based on video games. They'd got a bit bored and were flicking rubbers at each other, going zap and pow and kaplunk. The library lady sighed and skirted round them towards Arthur. What are you writing today, Arthur? She said, smiling expectantly. Arthur was obviously a regular at the story writing sessions. The zap pow kaplunk boys rolled their eyes and made gagging gestures. It's nothing. It's just... No, honestly, Arthur mumbled. The knight who wouldn't fight, the library lady read out loud. The knight who wouldn't fight, said Zap. What a dumb wimpy title, said Pow. By a dumb wimpy boy, said Zap. Dumb wimpy nitty nighty Arthur, said Pow. Now then, you two, stop being so silly, said the library lady. Don't take any notice of them, Arthur. Arthur said nothing. He didn't look at the boys. He didn't look at the library lady. He didn't look at me. I looked at him properly through my new rainbow glasses. Then I got up and walked over to his table. Can I see what you've written, Arthur? I said. Here, I bet these two haven't even heard of King Arthur and all the Knights of the Round Table. They're still way down at the Super Mario and Sonic stage. Zap and Pow spluttered and squealed. The library lady blinked. Arthur was bright red, but he pushed his book towards me. Here, he said. He sounded gruff, but I knew it was okay. I got my chair and sat at his table for a bit, but Zap and Pow kept bombarding us with rubbers and jogging us whenever we wrote, so Arthur and I moved over to my little table. I decided I wanted to go to the story writing sessions all week. Arthur and I sat together every day. We started to work on a new story together, about a beautiful medieval witch, Mandiana the Magic, and an all-powerful wizard called Dark Art. We took turns writing the story and drew a picture for every page and coloured it all in with my rainbow felt tips. I knew that Arthur was pleased I'd turned up at the library, out of the blue. He hadn't said much because he was shy, like me. He didn't want to think he was pushy. Arthur's mum came to meet him at lunchtimes. She studied in the library archives while we did our writing class. She had the same pale face and untidy fringe as Arthur. They even wore identical navy anoraks. She was a different sort of mum, but ever so interested, and ever so interesting when you talked to her. She gave us some brilliant ideas for evil spells and knew all about poisonous potions and herbs. My mum got on well with Arthur's mum. They made friends too. Arthur's mum said I was very welcome to go round to their house in the mornings with the writing session stopped. That would be good, eh, Mandy? Said Arthur, going pink again. Yeah, right, I said. It wouldn't be as good as being with Tanya, of course. Nowhere near, but Arthur was okay. He was a friend. But I didn't go to the King's house the next week after all. I knew something terrible had happened when Mum came to collect me on Friday. Her eyes were red and her face was all puffy. My tummy went tight. Mum, what's wrong? She tried hard to be brave in front of Mrs. King and Arthur. Nothing's really wrong, dear. I've just had a little shock, that's all. Have you heard something awful about Tanya? Mum stared at me as if I was mad. No, of course not, no. I've just been forced to join the massed ranks of the unemployed, said Mum. She was talking in such a strange way. I didn't get what she meant at first. But then when Mrs. King started talking very sympathetically about redundancy, I realised Mum had lost her job. When we were indoors, away from the Kings, her face went wobbly and she started crying again. Don't cry, Mum, I said timidly. She cried harder, her eyes screwed up, her mouth open. I'd never seen her cry that way before. It made me feel awful, embarrassed and scared. Mum went up to her bedroom and I hung back for a minute, and then followed her worriedly. She'd taken her good suit off and was lying on her duvet in her petticoat, crying and crying. Mum, I said. I sat down gingerly on the edge of the bed. I reached out and patted her soft, shaking shoulder. Oh, Mandy, Mum sobbed, and then she scrabbled around for a hanky and tried hard to stop crying. I'm sorry, darling. Don't look so worried. It's not the end of the world. I don't know why I'm making such a fuss. Her voice wavered up and down, and every so often there was a sob she couldn't stop, like a hiccup. You'll get another job, Mum, I said. Mum shook her head. Not so sure, Mandy. Oh dear, it was so awful. I had to clear my desk and get out straight away. I couldn't believe it was really happening. Everyone looked at me as if I'd got some horrible disease. My boss said it was because I was unreliable. He kept on about all the time I'd had off, what with my teeth playing up and then when I had to look after you. So it's my fault, I said. No, of course not, Mandy. And anyway, he was just using that as an excuse. He practically admitted it. He said I didn't really fit into a busy modern office. My way of thinking was all wrong. He said I was too old-fashioned. But what he really meant was that I was too old. Oh, Mum, you're not old. Well, not that old. Yes, I am, said Mum. She blew her nose and sat up properly. Goodness, I must look a sight. I am old, Mandy. When I look at the other mums down at the school, I can't help realising I'm old enough to be their mum. You're not anyone else's mum but mine, I said, and I put my arms around her. Mum went after lots of jobs that summer, but for a long time she kept getting turned down. She got very depressed, and she even started to get thinner, because she didn't feel like eating much. I'd always longed for Mum to stop being so fat. For now I wasn't sure. It was as if the Mum I knew was slowly wearing away, like a bar of soap. I wanted her really big and really bossy again because that was the way she was supposed to be. But it was okay, after all. The week before I started back at school, Mum got another job. She'd gone after an office job in Maxwell's, but she hadn't been able to cope with their computer. They suggested she apply as one of their part-time sales staff instead. She got a job going in ladies' separates, and she took me for enormous Knickerbocker glories and Maxwell's soda fountain to celebrate. It's a lovely department. I like the look of the ladies I'll be working with. It's less money, but I'll get a good discount on goods, even though I'm only part-time, said Mum, licking ice cream from her lips and scraping her tall glass. Pity I didn't get discounts on the ice creams, eh? Mum was happy again. I wished I could feel happy too. I still missed Tanya so much. I had Arthur now, but he wasn't the same. And school was starting on Monday, and I'd begun to have nightmares about Kim and Melanie and Sarah. I kept telling myself it was a new school year, a new class, a new start. But I still felt sick and sweaty when I walked into school. Kim and Melanie and Sarah were already in the classroom at the back. Kim whispered something, and they all burst out laughing, looking at me. It was starting again. I stood still, not knowing where to sit. All the girls had friends already. I was stuck without anyone. Arthur was sitting right at the front. He tapped the desk next to him. Hey, Mandy, come and sit here, he said. I stared at him. None of the girls ever sat with the boys. You just never did it, not in our class. I can't sit next to you, Arthur, I hissed. You're a boy. Brilliant deduction, said Arthur, raising his eyebrows. So what? I thought about it. So what indeed? I sat next to Arthur. Kim and Melanie and Sarah giggled and sneered. Some of the boys wolf whistled and made stupid remarks. Nutters, said Arthur. Nutters, I agreed. They're the nutty ones, said Kim. Two swotty little twits. They're just sticking together because they haven't got any other friends. She went on, but her words were just like little pinpricks, not great big daggers. I knew it wasn't true. I did have friends. I had Tanya, who was the best friend in the whole world, and I had Arthur. We stayed sitting together at the front, and the new Year 6 teacher, Miss Moseley, didn't mind at all. Kim and Melanie and Sarah sat in a threesome at the back, all crammed together. Miss Moseley wasn't having any of that. Come on, you three. You haven't got room to work all squashed up like that. One of you had better pop over to a spare table. Melanie and Sarah looked at Kim pleadingly, both desperate to stay with her. Kim sat back, smiling, looking from one to the other. We all craned round to see who she was going to pick and who she was going to send packing. Kim, said Miss Moseley. She knew her name already. Everyone in the whole school knew Kim. You go and sit at the spare table, please. We all stared at Miss Moseley, astonished. She didn't understand, or maybe she understood all too well. No, I'll stay here, said Kim. Melanie can sit at the spare table, or Sarah. Melanie and Sarah looked agonised. I want to stay with you, Kim, said Melanie. No, I've got to stay. I've been your friend much longer, said Sarah. It's not up to Kim, said Miss Moseley, briskly. I'm the teacher, and I say who sits where. Melanie and Sarah, stay where you are. Kim, you move to the spare table. She paused. At once. Kim got to her feet and moved all her things to the spare table. She had 2 bright pink pots on her cheeks. She glared at Miss Moseley. Miss Moseley smiled. Right, now we're all sorted out and sitting comfortably, we can start our lesson. We were all still a bit stunned. Miss Moseley was young with fluffy fair hair, and she often wore fluffy pastel jumpers. We thought she was all soft and fluffy too. We got it wrong. She was as strong as steel. I decided I was going to like it in Year 6 with Miss Moseley. We started all sorts of new lessons. We were doing the Victorians all that first term, and we all had to choose our special aspect to study with a partner. Arthur and I decided to do a project about this group of Victorian painters who liked doing pictures of King Arthur and all his knights and various damsels in distress. The others in the class chose stuff like childhood, or servants, or fashion, or railways. Miss Moseley was very pleased with Arthur and me. She said we'd started a very original and interesting project. Kim made vomit noises. Miss Moseley raised her eyebrows, but she didn't bother to get cross. She didn't seem to think Kim was particularly important. We had one brand new subject in Year 6. It was down on our timetable for Friday afternoon. It was called Circle Time. We weren't quite sure what it was. Maybe we'll draw circles with protractors, said Arthur, getting his protractor out of his pencil case. What, to make patterns? I like doing that, I said, and then we can colour them in. But we didn't draw circles in Circle Time. We made the circle ourselves, pushing the tables back and sitting round on our chairs. Miss Moseley sat in the circle too. Kim could sit in between Melanie and Sarah again. She barged between them. Arthur and I sat next to each other, of course. Circle Time is going to be our special time, when we sit around together as a class and talk about all sorts of different things, said Miss Moseley. Ooh, she's going to tell us about sex, said Kim, and everyone giggled. Miss Moseley laughed too. Not today, folks. So you can all simmer down. Circle Time is when we discuss various issues. What's an issue, Miss Moseley? Issue, said Kim, pretending to sneeze. An issue is something currently on our minds, something we want to talk about. Like neighbours? No, not exactly, but all sorts of issues are dealt with in neighbours. Anyway, today in Circle Time I thought we'd talk about bullying, said Miss Moseley. There was a sudden silence. Everyone looked at Kim. Her cheeks went pink with the Dutch doll spots. People were looking at Melanie and Sarah too, and me, and started to feel sick. I didn't want to talk about it. And if Kim and Melanie and Sarah got told off, they'd think I'd been telling tales on them. I stared at Miss Moseley. She was going to make it worse. But Miss Moseley smiled at me, smiled at everyone, calm and composed, her fair hair standing out around her face like a golden halo. She took out a newspaper and read to us about a boy who had been beaten up by 3 other boys at his school. She showed us the photo of his poor bruised face. We all agreed that this was awful. Then she read to us about a girl who kept getting punched and kicked until she was so scared of going to school that she hanged herself. We discussed this too. Miss Moseley asked us to think how the boy and girl must have felt. It started to get really sad and scary. I don't want to think about that girl hanging herself. It'll give me nightmares, said Melanie. I know it's very uncomfortable thinking about it, but you're all getting older and much more sensible now you're in Year 6. You're ready to discuss very painful grown-up topics. Now, what do you all think we should do about bullies like this? They should get beaten up too. They should get locked up. No one should ever talk to them ever again. People's suggestions started to get fiercer and fiercer. This isn't always possible, or indeed practical, said Miss Moseley, and I think we have to try to work out why people bully. Then we can maybe stop it before it gets too much of a habit. So, why do you think people bully? Because they're big and they want to hurt. Because they're nasty. Because they like getting people scared. Yes, these are all sensible suggestions, but try to think a bit deeper. Are bullies happy people? Miss Moseley asked. They're happy when they're hurt. When they hurt? Yes, I suppose so. But think about it. Think about when you're very happy. Say it's your birthday, and all your family and friends have given you a big hug and some lovely presents, and you feel really great. Now, do you want to hurt anyone when you're in that sort of situation? We thought and shook our heads. Of course not. You just want to be nice to people. But suppose you've had a really bad day and got into trouble at school, and your friend's gone off with someone else, and your mum and dad are cross, and they've given your little sister a treat, and yet they just tell you off. Do you want to be nice to people now, or do you feel like being nasty? Nasty, we said. Of course you do. So if your little sister comes and starts showing off, you maybe give her a little push, or tell her she's stupid, right? Most people nodded, laughing. But that's not real bullying. I mean, I can't stick my sister, but I wouldn't kick her in the head. Kick her head in, or make her kill herself. People laughed more, but Miss Moseley was looking serious. That's exactly it, though. Bullying isn't always terribly dramatic and dreadful, with people seriously hurt or even dying. We're all very thankful nothing like that happens in our school, but I'm sure we can all think of various occasions when a group of us have picked on another one. No one was laughing now. My tummy went tight again. One person gets picked on, and it starts to be a habit, and others join in, because everyone wants to side with the bully so that they don't get picked on. Sometimes they ask for it, because they're stupid, someone muttered. It could have been Kim. Miss Moseley had very sharp ears under her fluffy hair. No one ever asked to be bullied, she said. But you're right, sometimes people get bullied because they're stupid. Though that's not a very kind word. People can't help it if they're not very bright, and that's a terrible reason for bullying someone, just because they're not clever. And other times someone can get bullied because they're ever so clever, Arthur said suddenly. Say they come top of the class, and the bully doesn't like it because they're clever too, and they want to be top. Miss Moseley nodded. That's very shrewd of you, Arthur. Some of the others were whispering and nudging each other. I heard the word Kim several times, and Mandy. We won't mention any names, said Miss Moseley. Remember, this is a general discussion. Melanie and Sarah were fidgeting. Kim's cheeks were strawberry pink. If someone is being bullied, you should always tell, said Miss Moseley, her eyes swivelling around the whole circle. Tell your mum and dad. Tell your teacher. Tell another teacher if things still don't get sorted out. The person who is getting bullied needs help. And the person doing the bullying needs help too, because they're sad, sick, silly people. We should feel sorry for them, even though they hurt and do a lot of harm. Even name-calling and silly teasing can be horribly upsetting, can't it? She looked around the circle again. You know what I mean. Pulling silly faces and going chitter-chatter like a lot of monkeys at the zoo. Bullies are like baboons, those big monkeys with weird faces and bright red bottoms. Everyone burst out laughing, hearing Miss Moseley say the word bottom. The biggest baboon screams a lot and bites all the little ones. All the other big baboons copy, screeching and scratching for fleas. Now, no one here in my class wants to act like a bully baboon with a bright red bottom, do they? Everyone shook their heads, even Melanie and Sarah. Kim's head was bent. She kept right out of my way after that. She didn't even wait to get to me after school again. She'd have been by herself anyway. Melanie and Sarah didn't want to be her friend anymore. They went around, just the two of them instead. Melanie asked if I wanted to make friends again. I said okay, but I couldn't be her best friend. I had Arthur now anyway. We stayed sitting together in school and we played together in the dinner break, and we always walked home together as far as the bus stop. Mum still came to meet me most days, but I didn't mind now that no one teased me about it. I still couldn't help hoping that somehow one day Tanya might come running down the road too in her shorts and clacky sandals. I'd heard from her at last, just one postcard, and she hadn't put an address. Hi, Mandy. I said it right. The Juve court was a doddle. I just got a supervision order. Great, eh? And I think I'm getting a new foster mum, so things are looking up. See you, best friend. Lots of love, Tanya. See you. I had to keep hoping that I really would see her again someday. If she didn't come back to see me, then I'd simply have to go looking for her when I was a bit older. We were still best ever friends. We had to meet up again. Somewhere. And that is the end of Bad Girls by Jacqueline Wilson. I will be back soon with lots more stories and lots more videos coming on my channel very soon. If you'd like to subscribe or hit a like, then that's always appreciated. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.